At 16 years old, I was infamous in my class for being the ugly girl. But Ethan mistakenly thought I was the school beauty and began an online relationship with me that lasted 2 years. It wasn't until the day we met in person that he realized he had added the wrong WeChat contact. Feeling humiliated, he bullied me for 3 years, which led to my failure in the college entrance exams. Years later, his career and love life flourished, while I, trying to persevere, met a tragic end. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at 16 years old, the very day we had planned to meet in person. I remember dying. It was on a cold winter night in a dingy hotel suite. A heavy-set man with a greasy, red face was strangling me, his meaty hands cutting off my breath. Just as I thought everything was about to end, the pain disappeared. Suddenly, I opened my eyes and froze. In front of me were rows upon rows of desks. Looking down, I saw high school textbooks and 2 brand new school uniforms. Around me were familiar faces from my high school days. On the podium, our homeroom teacher, Mr. Carter, was smiling as he introduced himself. But wasn't Mr. Carter already retired? Before I could make sense of the situation, I heard hurried footsteps from the doorway. "Excuse me." My heart skipped a beat. That voice. I turned to look at the door. A tall boy in black clothes stood there, a lazy smirk playing on his lips. His demeanor was nonchalant yet striking. I couldn't hold back a shiver. It was Ethan. My heart pounded uncontrollably, fear and hatred surging through me. My fingers clenched into fists, nails digging into my palms as a sharp pain brought clarity. It wasn't a dream. I had truly been reborn. I was back at 16, on the first day of high school, the day Ethan and I had planned to meet in person. My life spiral of misfortune began with meeting Ethan. When I entered middle school, my body started to develop, and my face became riddled with acne. Boys in class often teased me, worsening my already introverted personality. Over time, I grew more self-conscious and avoided talking to my classmates. At my loneliest, Ethan accidentally added my WeChat instead of a tutor's. When he realized the mistake, he didn't delete me but instead offered to be friends. I agreed because, at the time, I was too lonely to refuse. We ended up in an online relationship that lasted 2 years. In our final year of middle school, Ethan proposed we meet in person. The idea terrified me. I wanted to see him but feared he'd reject me for my looks. Sensing my hesitation, he sent a message that would ruin me. "Lily, I know how wonderful you are. I don't care about your appearance. I like you for who you are." I believed his sweet lies and agreed that we'd meet if we both got into the same high school. In my previous life, we had planned to meet at the amusement park today. He said he wanted to take me on the Ferris wheel. Dressed in a white dress I had picked just for this occasion, I went to meet him, heart brimming with joy. But the moment he saw me, his face changed. "You're Lily?" he asked in disbelief, staring at me, smiling nervously. I nodded. "Yes, I'm Lily." His expression darkened. He made a phone call, and within minutes, 3 or 4 rough-looking boys arrived. They were his lackeys. At his command, they dragged me into an alley and beat me mercilessly. Rain began to fall lightly, and my white dress was quickly covered in mud and footprints. Ethan kicked me hard in the stomach. The pain felt as if my insides were tearing apart. Struggling to call his name, I tried to ask why he was doing this, but he cut me off coldly. "Shut up, you filthy bee. You don't deserve to say my name. Someone as ugly as you pretending to be my goddess? Disgusting. Stay the hell away from me." It was then I realized he had indeed added the wrong WeChat contact. The person he had intended to add was Mia, the school beauty he secretly admired. My profile picture and hers were similar, and both of our names contained the character Lily. Leading to the mix-up, what I thought was salvation turned out to be a complete deception. After explaining that he had entered the wrong classroom, Ethan sat down as Mr. Carter waved it off, saying it was only the first day of school. Watching his back, I sank into deep thought. The girl Ethan truly liked was Mia, the celebrated academic star. In my previous life, to chase her, he pretended to be a model student. Over 3 years, he went from being at the bottom of the class to excelling and eventually getting into a top university in New York. Mia was moved by his determination and accepted his confession after the college entrance exams. His turnaround story became the school's inspirational legend. He was even invited back to give motivational speeches, while Ethan basked in applause and flowers. No one noticed the wreckage he left behind in the shadows. I failed my college entrance exams. Ethan saw me as a disgrace and treated me as his punching bag to release stress from his studies. For 3 whole years, he relentlessly bullied me, leaving me so broken that I couldn't even reach the minimum score for the lowest tier colleges. In the end, I could only enroll in a local vocational school. Without a decent education, I struggled to find my footing in the workforce. To pay off the debts incurred from my father's medical treatments, I sold our house and worked multiple part-time jobs. Just as I was about to clear the debt, I encountered a drunken predator, and my life spiraled into tragedy. Memories of my past flashed through my mind like a movie reel until my phone vibrated in my pocket, snapping me back to reality. It was a message from Ethan. "Lily, what are you wearing today? I can't wait to see you. So excited." Image attached. Looking at the screen, I felt a wave of disgust. This shallow, appearance-obsessed hypocrite had the audacity to claim he didn't care about looks. It made my stomach turn. I didn't want anything to do with Ethan anymore. Without hesitation, I replied, "I'm tired of this. Let's delete each other. There's no need for us to meet." After sending the message, I blocked and deleted him without a second thought. The opening ceremony at school ended shortly after, and I rushed home without delay. As soon as I stepped through the door, a familiar aroma wafted through the air. My dad was in the kitchen, wearing a floral apron and busy preparing lunch. Seeing me, he greeted cheerfully, holding a spatula in hand. "Lily, you're back. I made your favorite spicy chicken. Go wash your hands and get ready to eat." Looking at his back, tears welled up in my eyes. Not wanting him to notice, I hurried to the bathroom to compose myself. When I returned, the dishes were already on the table. I picked up a piece of chicken and put it in my mouth. The familiar taste brought back a flood of memories, and I couldn't stop the tears from falling. Dad noticed and was startled. "What's wrong? Lily, why are you crying? Is it not good?" I quickly shook my head. "No, it's delicious. It's so good that it moved me to tears." In my previous life, my dad had passed away from stomach cancer in my second year of vocational school. I never thought I'd have the chance to eat a meal he cooked again. Hearing my words, Dad sighed in relief. He reached out to pat my head. "If you like it, eat more. You'll need the energy to go out and have fun with your friends later." In middle school, I didn't have any friends and spent my weekends holed up at home. Knowing I was going out with new friends today, Dad seemed genuinely happy for me. Of course, I wasn't going to meet Ethan. To avoid worrying Dad, I didn't explain and left the house after finishing my meal. Even though I had blocked Ethan, I still felt uneasy. This chance at rebirth was too precious to waste. To be extra cautious, I decided to visit the service center and cancel my old phone number. The summer sun was blazing as I left the service center, but I finally felt a sense of relief. At least now Ethan wouldn't be able to contact me anymore. For the next 2 months, Ethan didn't bother me. I thought I had successfully rid myself of him and focused entirely on my studies. But just as I felt secure, a note appeared in my desk drawer one day. The message scrawled on it read, "Don't leave after class. Wait for me." My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't sure if Ethan had written it. To test him, I threw the note into the trash in front of him. Glancing back, I caught a glimpse of him out of the corner of my eye. He didn't seem to react much, so I thought I might have been overthinking it. The next day, however, another note appeared in my drawer. This time, it read, "UB, if you run after class, you're dead." My stomach churned. That phrase, "B," was Ethan's favorite insult. I'd heard it from him countless times in my past life. It became clear to me that Ethan was the one leaving the notes. But why? Why was he still harassing me even after I had completely cut ties with him? Refusing to let history repeat itself, I took the note to Mr. Carter, our homeroom teacher. The 3 years of bullying I endured in my past life had been a nightmare I could never forget. I wasn't going to let it happen again. Mr. Carter, with his stern demeanor and black-rimmed glasses, looked at the note and asked if I had any recent conflicts with classmates. I shook my head. "No. I've been getting along well with everyone and haven't had any arguments. I received a similar note yesterday but didn't think much of it. But now that it's happened again, I'm scared and felt I had to tell you." Mr. Carter patted my shoulder. "You did the right thing. If something happens, always come to the teacher instead of keeping it to yourself." He asked me to return to class and promised to investigate. Relieved, I nodded. As I turned to leave, a small smile tugged at my lips. Mr. Carter was familiar with the handwriting of every student in class. I knew it wouldn't take long for him to uncover the truth. Ethan wanted to play the role of a model student? Fine. I'd make sure the teacher saw exactly who he really was. That afternoon, Mr. Carter called Ethan to the office. When Ethan returned to class, his face was dark with rage, like a storm cloud about to burst. It was obvious he had been reprimanded. Still hot-headed, he slammed into my desk on purpose as he walked past, knocking 2 of my books to the floor. Before I could say anything, my male desk mate spoke up lazily. "Ethan, Why do you always look like your brain's underdeveloped? Can't even walk straight without hitting a desk. Ethan, already brimming with anger, snapped. Shut up. You cheating dog. Barking already? Want to get expelled that badly? A week ago, we rearranged our seating assignments. And my new deskmate was Nate. He had quite a reputation. During the first mock exam after school started, he was caught cheating by the dean and promptly demoted from the advanced class to the regular one. He now carried a major disciplinary record, and one more strike would mean expulsion. Nate raised an eyebrow and smirked lazily. Who knows? Maybe the school will expel you first. I expected Ethan to retaliate, but to my surprise, he only shot Nate a venomous glare before snapping. I'm not wasting my time arguing with someone like you. Disgusting. Then he turned to me. Lily, just you wait. After throwing out his threat, Ethan stormed off. I was a bit taken aback. Swallowing his anger like that wasn't Ethan's style. Could Nate have something on him? Ethan wasn't planning to let me off easily, but with midterms coming up next week, he was preoccupied with cramming. He was clearly trying to impress Mia with his academic improvement. Meanwhile, I threw myself into my studies as well. But having been away from these high school subjects for so long, I found it incredibly difficult. Other students could memorize 50 vocabulary words a day, while I struggled to barely retain 20. Don't even get me started on math, physics, and chemistry. They gave me a constant headache. When the midterm results came out, I only did well in Chinese and history. For every other subject, I barely scraped by. Staring at my test paper, I felt deeply frustrated. Was I destined to always be a mediocre student, no matter how many chances I got? Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Nate's score sheet. To my shock, he hadn't passed a single subject. His scores in Chinese, history, and politics were all 0, while his math, physics, and English scores were a laughable 11, 22, and 33 respectively. What on earth are these scores? I blurted out. Nate smirked, his expression tinged with mischief. The multiple choice questions were random guesses. I didn't even bother with the big ones. Then why didn't you at least guess on the Chinese and history papers? He shrugged, rubbing his eyes. Too many words on those papers. I was too lazy to read. Speechless, I turned back to reviewing my mistakes. A few minutes later, the class erupted in whispers as a pretty girl with a ponytail stormed into the room. She marched straight to Nate's desk, visibly upset. Nate, why didn't you take the exam seriously? Did you forget what Mr. Zhao told you? If you prove yourself, you could return to the advanced class. Nate leaned back in his chair, exuding nonchalance. Mia, that's your wishful thinking. I never planned to go back. So, this was Mia. I discreetly observed her. She was truly stunning. An oval face, large expressive eyes, fair skin, and jet black hair tied in a ponytail. She looked like the lead in a coming-of-age movie. Her cheeks flushed with emotion as sunlight highlighted her features. No wonder Ethan liked her. If I were him, I'd like her too. Mia and Nate fell into a tense silence. The atmosphere was heavy until Ethan burst into the room, sweaty from the basketball court. Mia, look, I passed every subject this time. Isn't that amazing? His eyes were brimming with tenderness when he looked at her. But the moment his gaze shifted to me and Nate, that warmth turned into open disdain. Mia, don't be so kind-hearted. Nate's just hopeless. And Lily? She's like a toad trying to climb up to heaven. Just looking at her makes me feel dirty. As he spoke, he reached for Mia's hand, attempting to pull her away. But Mia brushed him off with a swift motion, ignoring him entirely. Her eyes stayed on Nate. Nate, are you really planning to throw your future away? Nate didn't even look up, scoffing. What does that have to do with you? Mia bit her lip in frustration, her voice shaking as she replied. Fine. If I ever meddle in your business again, I'll be a dog. She spun on her heels and stormed out, with Ethan trailing behind her, awkwardly trying to console her. Watching the scene unfold, thought struck me. Ethan still hadn't won Mia over. I began finding opportunities to get closer to Mia. While she was cautious around boys, she was warm and friendly toward girls. Before long, we became friends. One weekend, I invited her to a bookstore to buy study guides. During our conversation, I learned more about Nate's situation. Mia's father and Nate's father were colleagues. The two of them had been classmates from elementary school through middle school. Both excelling academically, it was only natural for them to end up in the advanced class at our high school. However, shortly after the school year started, Nate's parents divorced. His father didn't want custody, and his mother, who worked in biotech research and spent most of her time in Germany, was hardly able to care for him. The divorce hit Nate hard. and he gave up on himself entirely. Even when accused of cheating, he didn't bother to defend himself. I felt a pang of regret. High school was such a crucial time. How could his parents choose to divorce now? Mia's expression darkened, and after a moment's hesitation, she spoke in a lowered voice. I heard from my mom that Mr. Yi was involved with another woman. She got pregnant and demanded a proper status. Mia reached out and held my hand. Nate's a very important friend to me. I can't just stand by and watch him ruin his future. Lily, I know this is asking a lot, but could you help me talk to him? He tilted his head slightly. His watery eyes filled with concern. Such a kind-hearted girl, I thought bitterly, would one day end up as Ethan's wife. Just imagining that possibility made me feel unsettled. So I smiled at her and said gently, "Don't say that. Nate is also my classmate, and helping each other is what classmates should do. Besides, I have a favor to ask of you too." "What is it?" Mia asked curiously. "Stay away from Ethan," I replied firmly. "He's no good. In my past life, his father ruined me for 3 years. In this life, I'll ruin his marriage. An eye for an eye." Mia readily agreed, clearly exasperated with Ethan's persistence. Hearing me criticize his character only deepened her dislike. We're supposed to focus on studying at this age, and he's here talking about love like it's some grand thing. Saying he's sincere and will treat me well for life? Yeah, right. I'd rather spend my time solving math problems than deal with his nonsense. Don't worry, I won't give him a second glance. With Mia's assurance, I shifted my focus to building a better relationship with Nate. Since my rebirth, my mind had been consumed with avoiding Ethan and improving my grades. It wasn't until I parted ways with Mia that I remembered something from my past life. In my previous life, Nate and I hadn't been seatmates, but we had crossed paths briefly. During the first mock exams in senior year, Ethan performed poorly and, in his frustration, beat me up and locked me on the rooftop. I cried and screamed for what felt like forever. Just as the dismissal bell rang, a boy opened the door from the inside. It was Nate. He had kept his head down and quietly asked, "Are you okay?" At the time, I had been too focused on not wanting anyone to see me in my disheveled state. I mumbled a quick thank you and ran off. But as I exited the school building, a shadow suddenly fell from above. There was a loud crash, followed by a pool of blood. Nate had jumped. No one ever understood why a so-called slacker like him would choose to end his life. But now, I thought I knew. He felt useless, unneeded, and without purpose. No one wants to be an island. When someone feels entirely abandoned, their downfall becomes inevitable. This time, I decided to ensure that Nate felt needed. I approached him, feigning desperation, and begged him to tutor me. Not only would this help me improve my grades, but it would also bring us closer. Seemed like the perfect plan. Reality, however, was far less cooperative. Despite my best efforts to appeal to his emotions and logic, Nate remained indifferent. Every day, he would close his eyes and sleep in class, as if the school were a hotel. After a week of trying, my patience snapped. I confronted him on his way home. "Nate, are you seriously throwing away your entire future for 2 people who couldn't care less about you? Don't you think that's incredibly foolish?" Nate's expression darkened, standing under the dim streetlights. His profile was shadowed and hard to read. "Lily, stay out of my business," he said quietly. I could tell he was angry, but I didn't care. If reasoning didn't work, maybe harsh words would. "Your parents abandoned you." "Yes, but your friends and teachers, they care about you and want to see you succeed. Why do you only see the people who don't care, while ignoring those who do?" He didn't respond. I sighed and stood closer to him. "Nate, no matter what, you shouldn't give up on studying. I know about your parents' issues. You used to work so hard because good grades were the only way to make your family sit down together peacefully for a meal. But you've misunderstood something important. We study for ourselves, not for others. Education isn't the only path in life, but it gives us more choices. You already know how it feels to be discarded. Don't you want to hold the power to choose your own future?" After that conversation, Nate finally began to change. He reconciled with Mia and even agreed to tutor me. But improving academically is easier said than done. Despite waking up earlier than the birds and sleeping later than the cows, even with a secret genius like Nate by my side, my progress was slow. Looking at my 91 on the math test, I couldn't help but feel disheartened. If I kept improving at this rate, I might get into a decent second-tier university, but aiming for a top-tier school still felt out of reach. Nate, chewing on the end of a pen, tried to console me. "Relax. At least you broke 90 this time. That's 80 points higher than me." I glanced over at his paper. where the bold 11 on his math score stood out painfully. "Nate, your obsession with low scores is ridiculous," I muttered. He grinned shamelessly. "I'm conserving my strength. Just wait until the final exams. I'll blow everyone away." In stark contrast, Ethan was showing dramatic improvement. Originally admitted to this school through his family's connections and a hefty donation, he had been spurred into action after Mia rejected his confession, citing his poor academic performance. Fueled by his desire to impress her, he was now studying like a man possessed, cramming every hour of the day. This time, he broke into the top 100 of the grade rankings, a big step closer to Mia, who consistently placed in the top 3. People couldn't help but marvel at the power of love. But as they say, a leopard can't change its spots. No sooner had Ethan tasted success than he heard rumors about my growing friendship with Mia. Eager to cause trouble, he came looking for me. He snatched my test paper out of my hands and loudly announced, "Wow, only 91 points? Lily, with a brain like yours, what's the point of all this early rising and late studying? You'd be better off joining your deskmate for a nap." The class burst into laughter. I simply smiled and said, "Getting into the top 100 has already gone to your head? Mia's in the top 3. Isn't she? You've got a long way to go." Ethan. His face turned red with anger, and he jabbed a finger in my face. "You be." I knew it was Ethan spreading lies about me to Mia, which was why she wouldn't pay him any attention. "Don't think I'll hold back just because you're a girl," he sneered, raising his hand as if to hit me. He had always been this uncivilized. Otherwise, in my previous life, he wouldn't have used me as his personal punching bag for 3 years. Seeing his hand rise, I instinctively raised my own to block his punch. A few seconds passed, but his fist didn't hit me. Instead, Nate had stepped in, grabbing Ethan's wrist mid-air. "Hitting a girl now? Where's your shame?" Ethan exaggerated his shock, mocking, "Are you kidding me? Cheating scum like her doesn't even count as a girl. She's more like a toad." The words were cutting, but it was clear Ethan meant every one of them. In his eyes, only girls as beautiful as Mia deserved to be treated as such. Everyone else was just a dinosaur or a toad. Nate dropped his usual lazy demeanor, his voice turning cold and precise. "You think it's impressive to judge people based on their looks? You're nothing but shallow and vulgar. Mia despises men like you. Even if every man in the world disappeared, she still wouldn't choose you." Ethan's face flushed with rage. "You son of a," he shouted, swinging his fist at Nate. Nate didn't back down, and the two of them started fighting in the classroom. The other students tried to intervene, but they couldn't separate them. Eventually, a teacher arrived and broke them apart. As was standard for fights, parents were called. Nate's parents didn't show up, but Ethan's mother arrived quickly. The moment she saw her son's bruised lip, she didn't hesitate to demand the school expel Nate. "Mr. Carter, my son would never start a fight. It's clearly that delinquent's fault. Look at what he's done to my boy's face. And I heard he's cheated on exams before, too. A student with such terrible morals has no place at this school." I glanced at Ethan, immediately understanding the malice in his eyes. He had planned this all along. He knew Nate already had a disciplinary record, and another infraction would mean automatic expulsion. That's why he had provoked the fight. I stepped forward, interrupting Mrs. Davis. "Ma'am, are you sure it was Nate who started the fight? I was there. Ethan tried to hit me first, and Nate stepped in to stop him." Ethan immediately shouted, "Mom, Mr. Carter, don't listen to Lily's nonsense. She's been flirting with Nate. They're in a relationship." In a high school setting, the phrase dating was a sensitive topic. The moment Mr. Carter heard it, his expression turned serious. "Lily, Nate, is there any truth to this? So, you'll both face disciplinary action. I advise you to be honest. Don't risk your futures over this." I kept calm and replied, "Mr. Carter, I do bring Nate breakfast sometimes, but it's only to thank him for tutoring me after class. We are not in a relationship." Seeing my confident demeanor and recalling my recent improvement in grades, Mr. Carter's expression softened. Ethan, however, scoffed loudly. "Nate tutoring you? Lily, at least try to make your lies believable. Nate's at the bottom of the class. How could he possibly tutor anyone? You're obviously lying to cover up your relationship." I mouthed an apology to Nate before pulling out a USB drive from my pocket. "Mr. Carter, I have something to report as well. I'd like to expose Ethan for framing Nate during the mock exam earlier this semester. Nate didn't cheat. Ethan slipped the cheat sheet into Nate's pocket during the test." The room went silent as everyone turned to look at Ethan. His face turned pale, and he stammered, "Lily, what nonsense are you spouting? We're talking about your relationship with Nate. And now you're trying to change the subject by slandering me. I'm telling the truth, I said coldly. This USB contains footage from the security cameras. Mr. Carter, you can review it for yourself. Ethan's panic was obvious. He growled. You're lying. How can we trust what's on a random USB? This is just you trying to frame me. I ignored him and handed the USB to Mr. Carter, explaining. Mia and I retrieved this footage from the security office 2 weeks ago. Every classroom is equipped with cameras. But because Nate didn't defend himself back then, no one thought to check. If we hadn't acted quickly, the footage would have been overwritten. Just as Mr. Carter reached for the USB, Ethan lunged forward, grabbed it, and hurled it out the open window. The office faced the construction site for a new building, and the tiny USB disappeared into the rubble below. If Nate didn't cheat, why didn't he speak up at the time? Ethan shouted, his voice dripping with feigned indignation. And now you're using some fake USB to accuse me? What a joke. I immediately felt a wave of anger toward Ethan. He looked smug, his lips curling into a satisfied smirk as if daring me to stop him. The heat in my chest burned hotter. But before I could react, Nate stepped forward calmly and said, Ethan, do you really think destroying the evidence solves everything? Lily's right. You framed me during that test. Ethan raised an eyebrow, sneering. Don't spout nonsense. Why would I go out of my way to frame you? I don't even have a reason to target you. You do. A sharp, clear voice rang out from the doorway. Mia had arrived, and I silently breathed a sigh of relief. While Nate and Ethan were fighting in the classroom earlier, I had secretly asked the class monitor to find Mia and bring her here. Mia walked straight to Mr. Carter, slamming a letter onto his desk. Mr. Carter, Ethan framed Nate because of me. Since the beginning of the semester, Ethan has been pestering me to be his girlfriend. Nate and I live in the same neighborhood, and we used to walk to and from school together. Ethan didn't like it, so he framed Nate for cheating during the exam. Ethan, desperate, blurted out, Mia, don't let Nate fool you. If he didn't cheat, why is he always at the bottom of the class? Mia shot back without hesitation. Nate has always been a top student. If the school doesn't believe it, you can give him a test right now to see for yourselves. The room fell into a tense silence. Nate said nothing, but Ethan couldn't hold back. Fine, let's do it. Let's have a competition. Right here and now. If Nate loses, he and Lily have to voluntarily withdraw from this school. Nate, are you brave enough to take me on? His confidence was almost laughable. Mr. Carter's expression darkened. Ethan, this is not your personal playground. You don't have the authority to demand another student leave the school. Nate turned to Mr. Carter and said firmly, I'm willing to compete with him. I just hope you'll give me the chance to prove myself. And don't worry, I won't ask for Ethan to be expelled if I win. Ethan scoffed, clearly not moved by the gesture. Spare me the fake kindness. If I lose, I'll transfer schools myself. The math teacher quickly printed 2 copies of the semester's final exam. You have 60 minutes. Start now. Nate and Ethan each found a seat and began working. The head of the grade personally supervised the test, while the rest of us waited outside the office. I paced nervously up and down the hallway. Mia noticed and tried to reassure me. Don't worry. Nate has an IQ of 140. He's got this in the bag. I didn't doubt Nate's abilities, but the meaningful look he had given me earlier left me feeling uneasy. After a moment, Mia changed the subject, her tone playful. By the way, don't tell me you and Nate really are dating. He's been working unusually hard lately. What? No way. I was startled, waving my hands in denial. Look around this entire school. Do you honestly think any guy would like me? Why not? Mia countered without hesitation. You're kind, thoughtful, and sweet. What's not to like? I froze, her words catching me off guard. In my past life, I had been scorned by classmates and coworkers alike. Somewhere along the way, I had forgotten what it felt like to be recognized or valued. Since my rebirth, I had taken steps to improve myself, exercising more and paying attention to my health. My acne had significantly cleared up, but deep down, I still felt insecure, convinced that I wasn't good enough for anyone to like me. Mia must have sensed my self-doubt. She smiled warmly and held my hand. Lily, I know it's easy for me to say, but you need to have more confidence in yourself. You're not inferior to anyone. If someone judges you solely based on your appearance, it doesn't mean you're worthless. It just means they're shallow. Her sincerity made my chest ache, and I quickly looked away to avoid her gaze. An hour later, Nate and Ethan emerged from the office. The tests were graded on the spot. Ethan had scored an impressive 129. But Nate, unsurprisingly, had earned a perfect score. When the head of the grade announced the results, Ethan's legs gave out, and he collapsed to the floor. Nate smiled faintly at him. Sorry, I didn't realize you were this bad. If I'd known, I would have left some points unanswered to give you a chance. So, have you decided which school you'll transfer to? Ethan's mother couldn't stay silent any longer. She jumped to his defense. They're just kids. This was clearly a petty rivalry. How can we take it seriously? Mia, unable to stand her hypocrisy, spoke up. Ma'am, people need to keep their word. If you didn't agree with Ethan's challenge, why didn't you stop him from the start? Ethan's mother knew she was in the wrong but wasn't about to back down. After all, this was the best high school in the city. Students from other schools would bend over backward to transfer in. No parent would willingly pull their child out. Mia wasn't done. Her voice sharpened as she turned to Ethan's mother. I haven't even confronted you about the other things yet. Ethan's mother turned her anger on Mia. Her voice sharp and biting. Oh, so now you're accusing my son? There are so many girls in this school. Why would he write a love letter to you? You must have been the one seducing him first, right? You little troublemaker. With that fox-like face. Always thinking about how to hook boys. Let me warn you. Stay out of this. Or I'll have the school call your parents. Mia, still just a teenage girl, was immediately overwhelmed. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she started crying. Mr. Carter quickly stepped in, pulling Mia behind him. Mrs. Davis, you're a woman yourself. How can you say such things to a girl? And speaking of academics, Mia has consistently ranked in the top 10 of her grade. She may not be the best, but she's certainly no worse than your son. Instead of calming her, Mr. Carter's words only made Ethan's mother more furious. How dare you speak to me like that? I could file a complaint with the school board against you. Her arrogant tone filled the room as she hurled insults at everyone, finally leaving with Ethan in tow. As they passed me, Ethan gave me a long, malicious look. The darkness in his eyes sent a chill down my spine. Mr. Carter assured us that the school would handle the matter and urged us to focus on our studies. As we left the building, Mia's face was still clouded with worry. I'm not sure how the teachers will handle this, but I doubt Ethan and his family will let it go so easily. Nate, however, was emotionless as he stared at me. Lily, don't you have something to say about today's events? From the beginning, you've deliberately approached both Mia and me. What are you hiding? Dark clouds gathered overhead, blocking out the sun. Mia looked at Nate in confusion. What's wrong with you? Why are you acting crazy all of a sudden? Nate didn't answer, his piercing gaze fixed on me. I took a deep breath and began to speak, recounting everything about my past relationship with Ethan. You're right. I did approach you two with a purpose. I used you, and I'm sorry, but I don't regret it. Ethan is like a rabid dog. The more you give in, the more he takes. I was reborn to fix the mistakes of my past life and live differently. I refuse to be his punching bag again. That's why I have to fight back. I looked at both of them and said softly, after today, you probably won't want anything to do with me. I'll request a seat change tomorrow. Mia suddenly planted her hands on her hips and shouted, Are you kidding me? Lily? Sure. I'm mad, but not because you kept things from me. I'm mad that, as your friend, I didn't help you when you were scared and worried. You're like a turtle, always bottling everything up. Then she turned to Nate, cutting him off before he could speak. And you, Nate, Lily may have kept things from us, but it was for a reason. Whatever her intentions were, the fact is that she warned me about Ethan and cleared your name. We've both benefited because of her. Nate started to protest, but I never asked for her help. Mia didn't let him finish. Oh, shut it. Instead of sulking, how about studying harder for a change? Stop trying to act like the protagonist of some web novel and grow up. If you have time to sulk, you have time to practice math problems. Her outburst lightened the tense atmosphere, and I hesitantly asked, So, you're still willing to be friends with me? Of course. Mia said firmly. Nate, after a pause, mumbled a quiet, Yeah. The golden glow of the setting sun reflected in his clear eyes as he added, But as friends, we're supposed to share our burdens. From now on, no more secrets between us. Ethan's revenge came swiftly. Few days later, my dad's breakfast shop was vandalized. After losing his job, my dad had used his severance pay to open a small shop, relying on it to support the two of us after my mom left. For over a decade, that shop had been our lifeline. But now, it was in ruins. The shutters were covered in graffiti with vile insults sprayed in red paint, and the interior was trashed. The surveillance cameras outside had been deliberately destroyed, leaving no clues. The next morning, On my way to school, I ran into Ethan. He lowered his voice and smirked. Did you like the little gift I sent you? If you're smart, you'll stop opposing me. Otherwise, next time, it won't just be your dad's shop. He walked away before I could respond, his carefree stride enraging me. My hands clenched into fists as I glared at his retreating figure. How dare he involve my family? When Mia found out what had happened, she was furious. She stormed off, determined to confront Ethan. But Nate grabbed her arm to stop her. Calm down, he said. My friend was bullied, and you're telling me to calm down. Mia snapped, her eyes blazing as she glared at him. Let me ask you one thing. Was what he did humanly decent? Doesn't he deserve a beating? He does, Nate admitted. But we don't have any proof right now. Nate's right, I said quietly. I exhaled slowly, steadying myself. I already had a plan in mind, but I needed their help. The next day after school, I approached Ethan, putting on a submissive act. Ethan, can I talk to you for a moment? It won't take long. I promise. Ethan, seeing the pleading look on my face, smirked with satisfaction and followed me to the wooded area behind the school building. As soon as we arrived, I dropped to my knees with a loud thud. Ethan, please stop sending people to wreck my dad's shop. I was wrong. I shouldn't have gone against you. I'll never do it again. Please, I'm begging you, leave my dad alone. Ethan looked at me, momentarily puzzled. He had orchestrated the initial attack on the shop but hadn't sent anyone after that. Still, the sight of me groveling filled him with glee. He raised his eyebrows and sneered. Lily, you really are pathetic. You only know how to behave after I put you in your place. If you'd acted like this sooner, I wouldn't have had to mess with your dad's shop. I kept my head low, my voice trembling. It's my fault. I didn't know better and made you angry. I'm so sorry. Ethan, please forgive me. Be the bigger person. Ethan pressed his foot against my shoulder, laughing coldly. If you're begging, at least do it properly. Show some sincerity. I stiffened, pretending to hesitate before bowing my head 3 times, my voice cracking as I begged. Please, show mercy. Let my dad go. Tears streamed down my face as I spoke, and Ethan was clearly pleased with the performance. Not bad, he said. From now on, you're my obedient little pet. Whatever I tell you to do, you do it. Got it? I nodded submissively, satisfied. Ethan kicked me to the ground and walked away, whistling as if nothing had happened. As soon as he was gone, Nate and Mia emerged from their hiding spot nearby. Mia rushed to me, pulling tissues from her bag to wipe the dirt off my face. Lily, are you hurt? I shook my head and got to my feet. Don't worry. I'm fine. Did you record everything? Nate nodded. Got it all. I even used a professional camera from home. The footage is crystal clear. Audio and all. Hearing that, I allowed myself a small smile. Everything that had just happened was part of a plan I had orchestrated to get Ethan to admit on camera that he had ordered the attack on my dad's shop. But this was just the first step. Ethan's days of unchecked cruelty were numbered. After that day, I became the most obedient presence around Ethan, never fighting back or talking back. I distanced myself from Nate and Mia and barely interacted with anyone else in class. This charade lasted for about 2 weeks until Ethan's birthday. We were in the middle of class when the dean suddenly came in and called Ethan to the office. Minutes later, Mr. Carter arrived and asked me to come to the office as well. Lily, Mr. Carter began, his tone concerned. You've seemed distracted in class lately. Are you feeling unwell? I shook my head, instinctively hiding my hands behind my back. Just the day before, Ethan had beaten me after a failed test, leaving bruises on my arms. But I kept my head down, saying nothing. Mr. Carter sighed. Lily, I need you to be honest with me. Last night, the school board received an anonymous email with a video of Ethan bullying you. The district is taking this very seriously. If you've been hurt, we need you to speak up. I bit my lip, pretending to hesitate. I already knew about the email. It was my doing. The file included footage of Ethan harassing me in the woods, as well as videos of him fighting off campus, partying in bars, and evidence of his parents frequenting high-end establishments, all captured thanks to my memories of past events. But the time wasn't right yet. I had to bide my time. I whispered, Mr. Carter, you don't need to lie to me. It doesn't matter if I speak up. Ethan's father works for the district. Even if someone reports him, it'll just get swept under the rug. I'm just an ordinary girl. I can't fight him. Mr. Carter frowned, standing up and taking hold of my arm. I winced in pain, unable to stifle a small cry. His expression darkened as he rolled up my sleeve, revealing the bruises. What happened here? His voice was sharp with anger. Did Ethan do this? When did it happen? Under his relentless questioning and reassurances, I finally admitted to being bullied by Ethan. Furious, Mr. Carter took me to the hospital to document my injuries and reported the incident to the school and relevant authorities. With concrete evidence in hand, the school quickly expelled Ethan. His father was also dismissed from his position for covering up Ethan's behavior and abusing his authority. When Ethan's mother came to the school to handle the withdrawal paperwork, she was a shadow of her former arrogant self. She passed me and Mia in the hallway without a single harsh word. Mia, still processing everything, turned to me wide-eyed. Lily, am I dreaming? Is this really the same woman who swore she'd make us suffer? His transformation was shocking, but it wasn't entirely unexpected. Ethan and his accomplices had only been so brazen because they relied on his father's influence as their safety net. Now that his father had been fired, their arrogance crumbled along with their support. From what Mr. Carter told us, no school was willing to accept Ethan anymore. He had no choice but to return to his hometown to continue his studies. All my patience and endurance had paid off. I had finally rid myself of Ethan for good. I didn't expect Ethan to resurface and cause trouble again. During the college entrance exams, Nate was assigned to a different testing center, while Mia and I were at the same one. After completing our final exam, Mia and I planned to walk home together. As we stepped out of the school gates, Ethan suddenly emerged from the crowd and grabbed Mia's wrist. Mia, come home with me, he said, his tone bordering on desperation. Mia jerked her hand away with all her strength. Are you crazy? We're not even close. Why would I go anywhere with you? Ethan's face twisted with madness, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. I couldn't help but wonder, had Ethan also been reborn? My suspicion was confirmed moments later when Ethan stepped closer to Mia, his voice chilling. Of course. We're close. Mia, don't you remember? We got married. You're my wife. Let's go home. Though he smiled, his eyes were icy. My body reacted faster than my mind. I shoved him hard, forcing him to stumble back a few steps. Ethan glared at me with a venomous intensity. I almost forgot about you. You meddlesome bee. If it weren't for you, Mia would already be mine. Everything I've lost is because of you. Let's settle this once and for all. He pulled a folding knife from his pocket. Panic surged through me, and I grabbed Mia's hand, pulling her with me as we ran back toward the school. Ethan gave chase, his footsteps pounding behind us. Mia and I narrowly escaped Ethan's attack. Police officers stationed at the exam center intervened and apprehended him before he could reach us. Ethan was taken into custody, and Mia and I were brought to the station to give our statements. When we emerged from the station, my dad and Mia's parents were waiting anxiously for us. Nate had also rushed over after hearing the news. What happened? Are you hurt? Nate asked, his voice filled with concern. I chose not to reveal Ethan's rebirth, explaining only that he likely held a grudge and sought revenge. For the next week, I was on edge, constantly worrying about Ethan being released and coming after us again. But what I didn't expect was for Ethan to meet his end before he could act. After my report, Ethan's father had become unemployed and spent his days drinking heavily. When drunk, he often turned violent. On the day Ethan was released from the station, his father started another fight, this time with fatal consequences. Father and son ended up killing each other in the brawl. Ethan's mother survived but was left permanently disabled. A day later, Mia invited me out for lunch. Over our meal, she shared a strange dream she had the night before. In the dream, I was with Ethan. She began hesitantly. We were married, but a year later, I found out that back in high school, Ethan had framed Nate for cheating. I confronted him, and we had a massive argument. I couldn't forgive myself, nor could I stay with someone who had hurt my friend. I asked for a divorce, but Ethan became enraged and hit me. After that, he completely changed. He imprisoned me, cut me off from the outside world, and treated me like his possession. When I tried to escape, he caught me, and in the struggle, I killed him. Mia's voice trembled as she finished. Her words left me in stunned silence. I realized this might not have been just a dream. It could very well have been Mia's reality in her previous life. Ethan's destruction hadn't been limited to just me. Gripping her hand tightly, I said earnestly, Mia, dreams are often the opposite of reality. You'll have a bright future. Don't waste your energy thinking about someone like him. He's not worth it. Mia smiled, nodding. I know. I'm not dwelling on it. I just thought it was such a ridiculous dream. I had to share it with you. You're so sensitive sometimes. Lily. About 20 days later, the college entrance exam results were released. The three of us had all been accepted to our desired universities. Mia and I chose schools in the South, while Nate opted for one in the North. The future was uncertain, but I felt no fear. Just as the sun always breaks through after the rain, we, having weathered our storms, would surely grow into the people we aspired to be.